Alright, let's try another Brayered background. I had such a great time doing that. I thought, okay, I mentioned how to do kind of an individual Brayered background. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this in a technique that's, I don't know, recommended or has been demonstrated or whatnot, but this is the way I'm going to do it here. I don't know. You can leave a comment in the comment section if I've done something wrong here, but hey, I just say, if something works out, hey, you know, whatever methodology it takes to get somewhere, that's, I don't know, that's usually pretty good with me as far as the utilization of some sort of process. Hey, why not? Let's go portrait on this one right here, okay? All right, so I'm gonna work through, and I want to show you this too, you know, mixing and matching pads here. We have some Distress inks right here. I have some Marvy pads. I'm not gonna bother, but I mean, I could put in some Memento in here as well, okay? I don't have a great deal of different colors in certain lines of inks, okay? You know, because I don't have a gigantic workspace here. But this should get the job done, I hope. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so working this yellow up here. It's going to be kind of yellows, and then it'll transition from oranges, browns, and whatnot. I don't know if I'll get to magenta or something like that, but we'll see. I don't know. Okay, so adding this down like this. It looks all sloppy and everything like that, right? Okay. So, don't panic, okay? Like that. You know, you might get, you know, a big glob like that, but I don't know. You just keep rolling it here. And don't just keep rolling it like this. What you do is you change it like that, so you're going on a different spot on your roller, okay? All right, now, I mean, I don't have to separate this quite, or cover so much like that, okay? But I'm just going to do it. I haven't done this in a long time. Okay, now, if I am going to orange, I don't think I need to wash this off. Okay, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Okay, but see, my Marvy pad it's crumbling like that. These are, I don't know, in some cases, these are like 30-year-old pads or something like that. All right, so that being said, hey, if I can do this with this crumbly, yucky pad here, you can do it with your pads, okay? Or you should be able to. Let me see if I can do this here. Let me use a little bit of a lighter touch here on this pad, okay? I might get a crumb on here, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Usually when I'm dabbing into this, you know, with a paper towel or something like that, it's not, you know, I don't know, affecting that quite as much. Okay, so this is orange right here. I'm going to start up here like this, okay. I'm getting all these crumbs on there, okay. Okay, working down like this. Kind of working it down like that, and see, I'm getting that transition right here. So I keep working into that yellow. Don't hit it down here to begin with, otherwise you don't have enough room to kind of blend it, you know what I mean? Like this, see? I kind of started it up here, and then I was able to blend it down here using the dryer application, okay? So see, it's getting those transitions like this, you know? Don't see this as too much of a different technique than what I've been showing you with, you know, blending in colors with your paper towel. We're still talking about transitions going from wet to dry like that, okay? Except this one, it's, you know, it's going on a much longer kind of a, or wider application of ink than, you know, a little, you know, finger. Kind of like all these crumbs right here. It's like, I don't know, like fabric or something. See all those crumbs right there? That is really bad. It's time. These are really old ones, you know. The newer ones had those stickers on the top of them like that. You know, so these ones are, I don't know, this might be a 30-year-old pad. That's, you know, that's, to me, that's pretty good. That's getting your money's worth, right? Okay, so let me start this a little bit lower there. So you see, I'm starting it mostly off the page like that, okay? Going like that. Yeah, let's go up a little bit more. Okay. In my high school graphic arts class, when we were doing silk screening, we called this a split fountain right there, where you're screening across, you add the inks on there. That was a really fun process. Sometimes on Facebook, that graphic arts classes come up a couple times with my old classmates that were in that class. Did all kinds of printing. Letterpress, the old-fashioned typesetting, believe it or not. I mean, that wasn't really being done too much in society at that time, but we had all that kind of old-fashioned methodology. Single-color printers. They had something that you can do type newspaper print on too, but we never used that one. That had stopped being used when they started using the city printer to print our high school paper. But see that little split fountain right there? Look at that, how much redder that one got down there. Maybe I had a lot more yellow up here in this area, but see this area right here, I was able to get more of that straight orange down there. Okay, so that is that. Let's go on to the next one. Same process, right? You just move it. Oh, look at the degradation on this one too. These pads are not even flat at all. You can see where I've kind of put my finger in there, or over the years I've used the stylus tool, and it's indented the things. Marvy pads are great. Like I said, this is like a 30-year-old pad, so don't see that as indicative of their quality. They last forever, or lasted, I don't know, not forever, but, a really, really long time. And their inks are really fantastic. You can get all they sell now is the blank pads and the re-inkers nowadays. And maybe this is kind of flattening out. I'm getting a crumb removal right there again. This is really bad. I guess brayering with 30-year-old pads, not great. It's starting to build up there on me, so I'm just going to take that and kind of wipe that clean. Wow, there's a lot of buildup there of that pad material. I don't know, could you see that on the video? It really wiped that off. It was really it was like caking that pad material on there. All right. Okay, so we have that coming down like this. I really need to kind of even things out a little bit more than I'm taking the time to do. Let me make that yellow area a little bit less kind of dominant in terms of a lighting space. Okay. All right. I don't know if some of these colors are even going to show up like this brown here. Oh, that brown looks like it's... See, this is a newer pad right here. It has that sticker on there, so maybe this is like 20 years old instead of, 30. Okay, so my brown tends to mellow things out a little bit. If you've watched a previous video of mine, yeah, that looks really good right there. Oh my gosh, this pad works so much better. The ink application is so much better than that crumbly one. Okay. It's starting to really build up, though, a little bit. I can tell that the ink is starting to bead a little bit, just from the sheer amount of ink that's been applied. I don't know, maybe this... Oh, I know, too. This rubber is really textured, and I think I'm starting to actually pick up a little bit of that texture on the paper. Okay, now let's see, this is really dry, so I am bringing some of this brown down this way, okay? Alright. Dark brown. Yeah, good, it's a good pad. You notice I'm not cleaning off the brayer in between colors. Well, I'm kind of working up through a color scheme, so I can go red into brown, but I wouldn't necessarily go brown into red, because I wouldn't take that darker ink and put it in the lighter one, but you can go lighter ink and put it into the darker one, especially when you're, kind of staying within this theme anyway on the paper. All right, that looks a little bit weird up there because I have that kind of that smashed down pad right up here, okay? So it doesn't look that great there if you look close, but I don't know, that doesn't really bother me too much. Usually don't let any kind of stamping related type of thing bother me. Like some people get all kind of real anal about, oh, there's a little spot like that. You know what I mean? I get it. You know what I mean? Sometimes, some people are kind of more like perfectionists, and that's what gets them, really fantastic results overall. But to me, I don't know, stamping is kind of just, it's something that's, it's just something, just a source of relaxation and joy and stuff like that. Not to say that I don't kind of run into challenges sometimes, because I do like to challenge myself and doing new, different, types of techniques. I haven't brayered in, I don't know, it feels like eons, stamping eons. But, crumbling pads and stuff, so what? Just have some fun. As my art professor used to say, it's, creating art, it's like a dance or something like that. He saw it as, it's like a performance. You're creating something like that, and it's a celebration of life, living, things that we're doing. Okay, this is starting to come together a little bit more with the darker brown. I'm kind of adding it and adding it and adding it. You see this nice transition right here. Yeah, it, naturally this took a lot longer than, the rainbow pad, working through all these different colors. You don't need to work through so many colors. Here's magenta right here. Why not use that one? I hardly ever use magenta in anything, but I like it in rainbows. It's kind of like a, I don't know, one of those colors that are kind of, buried within the color scheme or whatnot. Sometimes I can't even see it, but something like this, I don't know, let's add it in there. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Getting a little bit of a, kind of an edgy type of thing right there. I don't want to go too far up with this magenta because it's just so dark, just inherently dark to begin with, so. Wow, that is really built up there. Okay. Okay, so we have our, I don't know, that's all globbed up right there because some of that ink pad has been smashed down there like that, but look at that. That's pretty crazy. I should probably come down here and mellow that a little bit more, but let's keep it nice and dramatic here. Okay, so let's do something. Let's fuse this type of technique here with that technique of utilizing color to create depth, varying colors to create depth. Okay, so we'll go with some images in darker tones for the foreground, and then we'll go with lighter ones in the background. Okay. All right. So I was going to do this one. Let's go with the foreground after. Okay. So let's take our Lakeside Cove. It would be pretty dark, dramatic down there with black, but let's do it in a dark brown. I like using this, the colors that I use within my color scheme with my images. Okay. Don't do like a blue in here. I mean, you could try something like that, but just in general, I think it's better to go with a color out of your color scheme because then it'll relate to all the different colors that are in there. Okay, let's go about like so. This one's a dark brown. Okay. I don't know the equivalent in other pads. Memento Rich Cocoa. I don't know. Is there a different dark brown than Rich Cocoa and Memento, or the Distress inks? The walnut stain, that would be a little bit too light. That's one of the darker ones that I have. Oh, here's a color right here. Ground espresso, maybe something like that. Okay, there we go. Dark brown so. I didn't wipe that one off right there. I don't think I need to. Okay. Hold that down a little bit longer. That one right there, I kind of stamped it out and picked it up really fast, so I don't think the ink was allowed to transfer, so it came out much lighter. All right. Actually, those two ones on the side came out a little bit lighter. This one I held down a little bit longer, allowing that ink to transfer. All right. This one I'm going to need something up in the sky. I might add a different image out of, that's not in. Oh, maybe this one would be perfect for a quote. I have a lot of sunset-based quotes, in the scenic sentiment sets. Okay, so this one right here, I tell you what, I'm going to stamp this one out in dark brown in the foreground, same color as that, but then I'll also do this in the foreground in black, okay, so you can see what it looks like to have a foreground that has some depth in it as well, okay, not just Lakeside Cove in brown, foreground in black, okay? Let's do the foreground in both dark brown and black. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'll just stamp this wherever. And knowing that I am going to stamp other one. Let me hold this one down a little bit longer. I don't want it too light brown from the ink not transferring. Okay, go maybe like that. Looks pretty good just as is without even having the black. Okay. Something like that. Alright, what's the blackest black? Is it the Versafine Clair? Shall we do that one? Or just plain Versafine? Let me take a look at this right here. That's the Versafine. Okay, the Versafine looks fine on the glossy. It was just on, what was that other one that I did? That kind of bled. So bizarre. Okay, let's do this one a little off-center. I'm not trying to go right over the top of my other impressions. I want I want this to look layered. I'll stamp this one maybe a little bit higher. You can stamp it lower, so for that variation. Okay. Happiness is a nice, juicy ink pad for a stamper, huh? Okay, let's see if we've created a little bit. I got a little bit too close on this one. You can barely see those trees if I did it a little bit off-center, but look, see how much depth there is right there? I mean, I could still take that tree. I can stamp this now and go like that, to create more trees showing through there, but I think that's fine. But look how more distant those brown trees look that are, stamped in the same color as that in the foreground here. So you've created this depth within this space right here. Sometimes it's a little bit more interesting than just going with black here like that, right? Doesn't that seem a little bit more deeper space? Now, that being said, if I wanted to stamp some dark blue trees in here, you can do that. And you can do it right over this right here. As long as this ink is dry, you can stamp in some darker blue ones in here with a dye-based ink, and that would create additional richness and space. Space in terms of distance, not outer space. Okay, it would be nice to have a little overhanging tree limb or something like that, up here, like that. But I think a quote, stamp up there would look really good. And, alright, I think I'm going to leave this, I'm going to leave that little canoeist out of it. No, I just thought of something as I said that. I thought, let's do it, the solo canoeist in a dark brown, okay? That way it'll kind of recede into the distance a little bit, than having it done in just black. Okay. Maybe I'll kind of wipe off the bottom. I'll just kind of tap it off a little bit, off that bottom portion. And we'll get them stamped right in here, like so. Don't squash this. Don't put too much pressure, then you'll, little images. Adjust your pressure, due to the amount of surface area on a stamp. Larger stamps, you press harder, and in different spots. Smaller stamps, you adjust your pressure, stamp a little bit lighter. Otherwise, you'll squash them and you'll get this kind of blobby image potentially. All right, so anyways, there's your brayering right there. It's a little bit more pure and rich, I know, because the colors aren't mixed on a rainbow pad, okay? But you can go through any kind of color schemes. You can go with a different color sky and different colored water if you want to. Aqua green appears, sky blue, whatever. But you would just kind of take that into consideration when you're doing this. For me, I think, some colored alcohol pens in here to kind of create a little bit more shadow might be good. Now, that being said, okay, I don't want to talk about too much in theory on these things. Let me do this. Okay, so what colors would you color the shadows on this one, okay? Well, you wouldn't do it in blue because this is not a blue scene. The shadows typically are kind of darker versions of the colors out of the color scheme in a given scene. So if you're somewhere looking at sunset or something like that, and it's those types of colors in the sky, it's usually reflecting those same types of colors onto your objects or on the water's surface. Something is very reflective as water, okay? So let's get right in here. Adding some of this down, being careful around the Clair, okay? That's still wet and will smear if I go over it. But these dye-based inks, they're pretty well dry right now. Okay, that was just, I don't know, what is this, like a brilliant yellow, vivid yellow. I was close. And this is a little bit too dark. That's a really dark brown right there. Remember, kind of start off with your lighter tones when you're approaching something like this and kind of build up a little bit. Biscuit, brownish gray. Yeah, brownish gray looks like a similar color to that dark brown that these images were stamped in. Okay, so I can kind of scumble around like this. And the shadows, does it look like it's kind of, the objects are kind of taking on a little bit more volume and mass by doing this? I mean, this is just a really light, tone in comparison here. And I'm doing it mostly on the base of the rocks, okay? Show you it upright. I have an easier time kind of with my hand. Remember ergonomics like this? Okay. I'm watching that Clair. I don't want to go over my black, okay? Down here around the canoe. Add a little bit of tone, maybe. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's try that biscuit right here. Okay. Does that look like the brown we used a little bit? This kind of lighter one. Okay. So that's how you can know, or, I mean, you don't have to do that this way, but it's an easy way to work, where you can just reference, the color scheme that you did. It's like, okay, we'll use those same types of colors in, the coloring process, okay? All right, so that is that. Let me take my blender pen a little bit, and let's go in and kind of reestablish the lighting on the tops of some of these rocks. If I used a little bit too much ink and I colored in the top of the rock too much, I like the top of my rocks to be a little bit lighter. And let's blend in kind of those different colors that I used around in the shadows, okay, at the base of the rocks. I like that. Basically a canoe. I mean, what I just did was very subtle, but I think it gave the rocks a little bit more mass and opacity, all right? And like I said, I'll stamp something else out up here. It's the perfect kind of placement for some sort of word stamp, I think. Or, some overhanging imagery too, or something like that. Okay, so there's brayers for you. Mix and match your pads. Stick with it, it's always going to look blobby with a couple of passes, okay? So you just keep working it and working it and working it. I think that having that base layer color, fairly well established with a good slathering of it, makes these other colors easier to blend in. Sometimes if you put almost too much, it blends too much, where you're applying a darker color and you're kind of going down like this, and there's still so much ink, so you lose that kind of that transition zone. So try to retain your transition zones when you're going up there. Maybe when you add a darker ink, maybe you kind of add it way off the page and high up first, and then start, bringing it down. Depends how wet your pads are, any given ink that you're using. Oh, I forgot the fire brick red. All right, I'm not going to add it in at this point in time, but I could have. Okay. All right, so one more scene. Another option for you. If you don't have big and juicy pads, which many of you won't, but it's easy to create that transitioning split fountain type of color arrangement using whatever color scheme you want to go with. I'd always recommend kind of grabbing your pads, lining them up from, light to dark, or what you think is light to dark, and if it's close enough, then it's definitely close enough to be utilized in that order when you start brayering, okay? If you can't figure out, well, what's darker, this one or this one, I don't know, then it doesn't matter. Just use either one of them. Okay. Sunset at the lake.